if you're gonna have a kid, I feel like you do need to be ready to give them time. You can't just like have a kid and be like, okay, well, my dreams are still incredibly important. I need to pursue them, and you do need to pursue them, but they can't. Your kid is now part of your life. Like they are a big chunk.
Absolutely. So let's just take the example of a touring musician.
Okay.
So your sister has a aspiration to have a big career as a singer-songwriter, which means she would tour. Mm-hmm. You yourself stream and you write music, and after seeing, what was the concert where you turned to me and you're like...
Rex Orange County.
Yeah, you saw Orange County. You're like, I would love to do what he's doing.
Yeah.
And so let's take the example that you have a passion that you want to pursue that does require travel. Mm. Because as a motivational speaker, as somebody that writes books, the work that I do takes me on the road. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And do you feel like, what would you do if you were a touring musician and you were with somebody and you guys were serious and your partner said, well, I don't know if I want to be with you and have kids with you if you're touring?
Well, I don't know that much about Sorry. I'm just a mess. I don't know a lot of things, and I don't know if like this. The main thing that comes to my mind is like, I feel like you could kind of build your schedule, your tour schedule,
of course,
around that. You could be like, look, let's go here, here, and here, and let's end here this week, and then have like a 2-day gap between our next show, so I can like see my kid and see my wife. And then pick back up the tour, and then here. And they can also come to you sometimes.
Yes.
If they want to, I mean.
Well, I think it depends on what kind of life you want.
Yeah. If you want to be like, full-fledged tour, like music every day, like you're here, you're in all these places, like I recommend probably don't have a kid yet. Like I'd wait maybe until you're retired, because honestly, if you're gonna have a kid,
you need to be there.
You need to be there. And you don't need to be there like 100% of the time, but you need to be there like 80-90% of the time, especially when they're young.
Well, you know what's interesting is my career did not take off until you guys were older.
Which I honestly think is really good.
I do too.
I think that was great. I think, maybe if if you want to have a kid, maybe have a kid early and then wait a few years and then get into like traveling.
Because when they're really little, it's draining as hell to take care of them. Yeah. And it's really important for your relationship that you're both around. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. When you guys get into school and there's after school sports, you're going from 7 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night most days.
Like you have time. So definitely wait until they're older. And honestly, like giving your kids time alone and time away from you is also good.
Super important.
Developmentally.
Why?
Because it gives them a chance to fight for their own. When they're still like in a place where they have someone caring for them. And so like if they up, someone will come and help them. But it just like gives them that window of time to like fend for themselves.
The other thing that I wanted to say about this is that it depends on a lot of things. Number one, if you've got family around you that's helping, you've got a better support structure.
Yes.
If it's just the two of you, and what your partner's really worried about is, I'm going to be left alone with a baby and not see you.
Yeah.
And that brings up a lot of insecurity. I don't want to be stuck at home with a small child while you're off living your dreams.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the third thing is that any of this can be solved through conversations and requests. So
communication is key.
It is, but you have to communicate a certain way.
Yeah.
So I changed my travel schedule dramatically a couple of years ago because I put some boundaries in place, meaning I would never take a speech on a Friday morning because I wanted to be home by Friday night.
And then the weekend.
Yeah, and I don't speak on the weekends and I don't speak on Mondays because I'm not traveling on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And having just those small boundaries in place created a schedule that made your dad, Chris, feel like more supported.
Yeah.
And it makes you guys feel more supported. And so, if you're just like, well, if you're touring, we can't.
You can.
Of course you can.
Like if you're the one on tour, like it's your tour.
You can figure anything out, is my point.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to be you're together 7 nights a week, and it doesn't have to mean that your partner's gone for 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
You got to sit down with each other and find out, well, what is it that you really want, and what do you need for support, and what kind of compromise can we come up with? And more importantly, once you do that, how do I need to behave as your spouse in order for you to feel safe and to feel supported?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think just kind of barking about, I don't want to have kids because you're going on tour, that just misses the whole point. You've got a chance to create something that works for both of you.
Yeah.
Or not. So my career didn't take off, Oakley, until 2014.
So what? I was like...
So that was 8 years ago? So you were 9 years old.
I was 9 years old. And
honestly, your sisters were 14 and 16.
Well, honestly...
And Dad was now home.
Yeah, at home.
Not because we were loaded.
Because he didn't have a job.
Correct. And so when I really started in the speaking business, I took everything I could because we had to pay our bills.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I just said yes, 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 yes. And I was gone long stretches of time. Because I was trying to pay our bills.
Mm-hmm.
And, I kept saying to myself, look,
for the family or something.
That.
Yeah.
And, this is not really a sacrifice to get paid money to stand on a stage and give a speech so I can pay my bills and get us out of debt. You got military families where mom or dad goes away for a year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a sacrifice.
Yeah.
And so that didn't make it any easier.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until recently that we were in a position, because the bills were paid off and, we'd saved some money, for me to go, well, I can change this now.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what doesn't work. I hate leaving on a Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I hate not being home for a weekend. I hate the number of games that I've missed that you guys, have played. And so what changes do I need to make so I can be there?
Yeah. Well.
Moving to Vermont's one of them.
There you go.
I didn't want to miss the last 2 years of your high school.
Yeah, that's good.
And
it'll be crazy.
It is going to be crazy. You're right.
It's going to be pretty gnarly.
Yes, bigger kids, bigger problems. See, you think you can be around, you don't need to be around when they're little. I think you need to be around more when they're big.
See, yeah, I'm going to back that up. Well, no. When they're super little, you need to be around. But, when I was 9, I didn't care where you were. I was like, oh, I'm going to school. Oh, I'm going to my friend's house. Oh, this is the dinner on my plate. Oh, I'm going to bed. Bye. I didn't have half a brain to be like, oh, I wonder what my mom's doing right now. I wonder where she is right now. And I didn't really care. So I think that when you're 8 to maybe 12.
Yeah.
Whatever. Not whatever. Obviously be there for your kid. But it's I think that's where you have a little more flexibility, because your kid does not give two about where or what you are doing. All they care about is what they're doing at school. I don't know, whatever TV show's on at the time, whatever. But once they start to hit puberty, I think they need you to be more in their life. And also when they're tiny, they need you in their life. Sorry.
You know what I've learned from this podcast? I'm not putting you in a swivel chair.
I'm struggling with the fact that I feel like I should be getting a lot done. I'm blessed with all this time now, and I'm not getting shit done. I'm not.
Why do you think you should be getting stuff done?
Well, because part of my, when I was really busy all the time, which has been, most of the last 30 years where I've been working with the same company and, building up to an executive position, I always wanted more time. And I was actually have been working on starting my own side business. And time was a constraint. So I'd be doing training on my commute, on the back, listening to things, fitting in it wherever I can. And all of a sudden I have all this time, and I'm using the time to stress and procrastinate. And of course I have kids. I've adopted my 2 little granddaughters. They're, one turned 5 today and the other one's 6. And so I'm, they're off of school. And, so, and that's...
First of all, let me stop you there. Happy birthday to your granddaughter. And you said that you had a full-time job. Are you working right now?
No, I was furloughed on March 20th.
Okay.
And part of the stress is it's the way that I was furloughed. I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty, and I know there is anyway, but it wasn't sort of after the fact. It makes me feel like they don't want me back. And things have been, my job was great. I was like the superstar person there for 28 years. And about 2 years ago, they suddenly changed my position and moved me into something I didn't want to do, but it was lateral, but I kind of had no choice.
Yeah.
And it was around the same time that I was starting the process of adopting my grandkids, and I don't know for sure that that's what it is, but I know that that's when I had the schedule where I had more limited hours to work, down to like 45 or 48 instead of 55 to 60.
So they furloughed you, and it feels more like a firing.
Right, because I had to turn in my keys. They shut off my email the next day. Then they called and asked for my laptop, and I said, I'm not using it, but sure, you can have it, but what's the rush? They're like, oh, we're just calling them all in. So then they had somebody come pick it up. This was 5 days after I was furloughed or so, and they cleared out the rest of my office. I took 2 boxes with me when I left because they asked us to clear everything out. And I've been there for, forever. So I had a big office full of stuff. Well, then I had 5 more boxes of stuff. They cleared every desk drawer, everything off the walls. It doesn't.
It's not easy.
No. And I have, it's 30 years of my life.
So you're in the same camp as anybody that lost something and didn't expect to lose it, whether it was the college graduation or the internship this summer or a 30-year job.
Yeah.
And so you've got, on one hand, the disruption, how discombobulating and surprising it is, how confusing it is. And we could sit here all day and make up stories about, well, they're just following protocol because gosh knows how long this is going to last. And they're probably just being fiscally responsible. And it'd be a lot harder to get that laptop back 6 months from now if they have to close the whole thing down than to just do it all with everybody right now. Yep. Or it could be, hey, let's use this as a chance to get rid of people that we were wanting to get rid of anyway. I don't have a clue. You don't have a clue. It is a total waste of time to sit and try to figure out what do we think is happening. And so what I want you to do instead is to focus on what you want to have happen now.
Okay.
Because let's assume you're not going back.
Right.
You are now the primary caregiver to a 6 and a 5-year-old. Mm-hmm. You have a side business, and you cannot seem to be able to focus. And the reason why you can't focus is a combination of all of the disruption that happened in your life and the stress it creates, and add to it the pandemic and all the stress that creates. Add to that any of the financial issues that you may be thinking about and all the stress that creates. And when you feel stressed in your body, Heidi, I want you to understand that what happens is it rises the level of cortisol in your body. And when cortisol hits this part of your brain, it impacts your ability to focus. So there's a direct connection between an increase in stress and anxiety and worry and a decrease in your ability to direct your focus. Okay. And so the other thing that makes this really difficult, and I can see you getting emotional, what's coming up for you?
It's just a huge part of my identity has been my career.
Yeah. And you know what else has been a huge part of your life? Because this is something that I am experiencing, is I was what you call an over functioner. Mm-hmm. Very busy, constantly on the move.
Yes.
And right. And you are probably a bit of an extrovert too.
Yeah.
And so the nature of what we're going through has also highlighted the fact that you stayed busy as a way to not have to deal with the things that stress you out. Mm-hmm. And when somebody like you or me gets forced to slow down, all this stuff comes up that we don't want to deal with. Yeah. And the more that you resist all of these feelings, the longer you're going to stay spinning, and the longer that you're going to not be able to focus. And what you need, given that the way that your life used to be just got ripped from you, is you need to come up with a plan for what you're going to do next.
Right.
So are you going to look for a job? Are you going to do something else and invest in this side hustle? What are you going to do?
Okay, well, on my plan, it turns out if I don't get called back to work by June, I thought it would be smart of me to make a move to the mainland. Because the way things were going last year with my job, and I've always been this star performer and everything, just a star performer, part of the team, really close with everybody at work. And last year, for the first time, I had a poor review. I felt like things that were said were not even.
Okay, so can I just slow you down?
Yeah.
Because what I just heard you say is that even going back a year, you got your first poor review.
Yeah.
And you can feel that things are going like this.
Yeah.
And that is a piece of data that's very important. And you said you were going to wait until June to see if they bring you back. And if they don't bring you back, then you're going to make a move to the mainland.
Yeah.
So here's what I want to unpack for you.
Okay.
I am working on a book on decision making. And I want to road test an idea with you.
Okay.
Because when I hear you say that things were going downhill, but you're going to wait until they decide, what I hear is somebody giving all the power to somebody else.
Okay.
And I believe that there are only two kinds of decisions that we make. We make what I call a noisy decision, or we make a quiet decision. And I want to teach you right now how to make a quiet decision.
Okay.
A noisy decision is the type of decisions that most of us make all the time. They are driven by the noise of what's going on around us, driven by the noise of fear, driven by the noise of anxiety, driven by the noise of pleasing other people, driven by the noise of being a good girl, driven by the noise of your self-doubt, driven by the noise of all the things that you do and have always done in the way that you've always done them. And then there's the quiet decision. And a quiet decision is one where you take a deep breath and you tune out all the fear and all the shit that everybody else is saying, and you go in here and you ask yourself, what do I want? And so let's do that right now.
Okay.
If you remove fear from the equation and you remove all of the noise and the doubt and overwhelming, everything you're feeling, don't worry about the how, don't worry about the when of whatever. I want you to just go right in here and get very quiet. Quiet enough so that you can hear your own voice for a second. What do you want?
This is what I was thinking about late last year when I started doing Best Decade Ever. I started, thinking about that, and so I wanted to come up with an e-commerce business, and I've been studying towards that because I want to have time freedom, especially at my age. I'm 55, and I have two little kids that I need to support, and all the way through that. I love that they keep me. I don't know what I can do without that right now. But so I want to have flexibility and time freedom, and I did think about this last one. I actually bought a property in my hometown that I grew up in. I took out a loan for the down payment out of my retirement account. And
so can I ask you a question? Because here's what I hear. I hear you saying you want to pursue this side business, and that you want to move.
Yes, it's hard to leave quiet, but I think it's the best thing.
Okay, so listen. So when you tune out the noise, and the fear.
No.
What do you want? Say it to me specifically without explaining why.
Yeah, I want to move, and yeah, I want to move and start a new life, start over again.
Terrific. Okay, there you go. There's your decision.
Yeah.
So fuck what this company does.
Yeah.
You want to move.
Yeah.
And that is a quiet decision. It's a decision that chooses you. It's a decision that comes from courage. It's a decision that is purposeful. Mm-hmm. And so now what we do is move into the execution part of that decision. We have decided you're moving.
Okay.
So when are you moving?
I think August, September later.
I want you to pick a date.
Okay. I'll just say August 31st.
Terrific. August 31st, you're moving.
Okay.
You've just made a quiet decision. Now it's your job to figure out how to get it done and what steps to take when.
Okay.
What does it feel like right now to know that you've made a decision?
In a way, it feels calm. In another way, like, I start going, okay, I have to do this, that's coming up for me, but it's also like, calm. I've been leaning towards this decision, but I have people saying, well, you're not going to give up your job.
That's the noise.
Yeah.
So other people are making a decision not to do it for you. Mm-hmm. That's why you got to tune out the noise and tune into what you're quietly telling yourself.
Yeah.
And so you have just made a decision. Mm-hmm. You're going to move. Mm-hmm. And all I invite you to do for the next 5 days, you don't have to do anything. You've already, I'm sure, applied for unemployment. Mm-hmm. I want you to just sit with this decision. I want you to start to get excited about the decision. And starting this weekend, you can start making a plan to make the decision happen. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I always say you're one decision away from a different life. Mm-hmm. And that's because when you're swirling in uncertainty and self-doubt and confusion, one decision will cut through all of that noise that's keeping you stuck, and it will give you clarity, purpose, and confidence. And that's what you just did today.
So the Sunday scaries. I want you to tell me right now if you're experiencing the Sunday scaries as you look ahead to the week ahead. And if you are, please tell me in the comments why you are feeling the Sunday scaries right now. I used to get the Sunday scaries all the time. And the first thing that comes to mind when I think about the Sunday scaries is when I was a new lawyer and I was working in a large law firm in downtown Boston, and I absolutely hated my job. Hated it. And every Sunday I would wake up and I'd feel this sense of dread. And the sense of dread came from the fact that the weekend was over. And as I looked ahead to the week and the next couple days that were in front of me, I absolutely hated what I was going to have to do this week, right? How many of you are looking ahead to the next couple days or the next couple weeks and you're like, how am I going to get through this? Or I don't want to be doing this. This is not what I want my life to look like anymore. I feel like I've outgrown it. I just feel dead inside. I feel no energy. I'm discouraged all the time. The source of the Sunday scaries is the fact that you're not living a life that you're fulfilled by. That's what the Sunday scaries are about. And some of you are writing, I have the Sunday scaries because I got so much work to do. I got so much work to do and I've been putting it off and it's just overwhelming, Mel. Well, that tells me that you're not in a job or you're not approaching the job in a way that's fulfilling, that you're not bringing your own excellence or your own execution to it, that you're letting the emotion of it all weigh you down. You get the Sunday scaries because you look ahead and you don't like the life you're living. If that's you, I want to know. If you're experiencing the fight or flight, the freeze, the dread, the overwhelm as you think about what you are going to take on this week or what your life looks like this week. If you have the Sunday scaries, that is one of the best signs on the planet that your life is no longer suiting you, that you've outgrown it, that it's not aligned with what really makes you come alive. And you can either feel like that's a bad thing. Oh my God, I have the Sunday scaries. I actually believe it's a really good thing. See, I think this is a wake-up moment because you deserve to have the kind of life where you wake up on Sundays and you see the week ahead and you're excited. That doesn't mean the week's going to be easy. It doesn't mean that the week is like you're just going to coast. It means that the problems that you're going to solve this week, the things that you're going to put your time and energy into, the people that you're going to be working with, the rhythm, the energy, all of that makes you come alive. It's helping you grow. It's helping you tap into a deeper purpose. And so first things first, the Sunday scaries do not go away with a bath. You'll feel better if you take a fast walk outside because it'll clear your mind and it'll like calm you down a little bit, but they will be back again on Sunday. Why? Because the issue isn't the Sunday scaries. The issue is you have a life or a relationship or a living situation, or you've let your health go, or you're ignoring the really important pieces of your business. And that's the issue. So I want to talk to you about taking on the process and the project of changing your life, of taking control. And I see a lot of you right now talking about how you don't like your job or that you're overwhelmed because you're a single parent, or the reality of your life is that you just have a ton going on and it's overwhelming. That's okay. Being overwhelmed by a life that you find fulfilling is very different than waking up and looking ahead to a life that makes you feel a wave of anxiety and alarm, okay? And you can do simple things to take control. And one of the first things that you should do if you're not already in it is jump in this free 3-part training. So I do this every year. It is zero cost. It is available to you no matter where you are around the world. And in today's live stream, I'm going to walk you through the exercises that you do with training video number 1, which is already live. The moment you sign up, you will get a link to training video number 1, and you will get a link to the workbook, and you, my friend, will get the support that you need to start taking control. I see some of you going, I have had the Sunday scaries for so long, I thought it was normal. It's not normal, everybody. Your life should not be putting your head down during the week and living for the weekend so that you have 2 lousy days where you relax and you spend time with friends and family and you try to catch up on your personal life, only to wake up on Sundays and feel the Sunday scaries because you've got to step back into a work week that you can't stand, okay? And I see people going, hey, Kim has a health issue and I'm struggling to find the motivation to get back where you were. Kim, you're not going to find the motivation. You have to make a decision to take control, everybody. You're not going to feel inspired. You have to make a decision to take control. You're not going to just magically wish the Sunday scaries away. You have to make a decision to take control of your life. Do not waste another year of your life, everybody, waiting for the world to change, waiting to feel motivated, waiting to feel inspired. Today, make a decision to take control. And the first thing you have to do to take control is to not wish that things would change, but to do something about it. And what I want you to do is I want you to let me coach you. I want you to take advantage of this 3-part free training called Take Control. It is already launched. There's already 250,000 students from more than 200 countries taking it right now, and they're getting breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough, okay? And you can have the same thing. This is how you change. I see people going, how do I change? How do I change? You got to take action, everybody. And let me support you, okay? Let me support you in taking that action. Why wouldn't you do this? Of course you should do this. Forget the Sunday scaries. We're gonna pop the balloon on the Sunday scaries right now, okay? And so here's what we're gonna do. You can get control of the Sunday scaries, and you can take control of your life. And let me help you. And here's some good news for tomorrow, Monday. You ready? You know what's gonna happen on Monday? This is something to look forward to. On Monday, training number 2 comes out. And for those of you who have already done training number 1 and you loved it, training number 2 is going to blow your mind, because this is where stuff gets serious. This is where I bring in design thinking. This is where you're going to take what you just gained out of session number 1, my free training, research-backed stuff. You're going to now start to make it personalized, because we're going to jump into the way that your brain processes, and it's going to give you so much clarity. But I want to tell some of you what we're going to do in this video, because you can do this along with me. The moment you sign up for Take Control, you're going to get an email from me. You will download your workbook for free. I'm going to ask you, why do you need to take control? What would a great Sunday look like? I'll tell you what a great Sunday would look like, because last year I was waking up every day with the Sunday scaries. And I wasn't looking forward to what was going on in my life. And so I had to do exactly what I'm going to teach you to do, which is take the steps to assess where you are, to understand what your superpower is in terms of how your brain reacts to change, and then to create a personalized plan and to understand the gap that you need to close. And there's only 2 gaps. You either have a process gap or you have a possibility gap. And I think a lot of you have... I see Brenda Lee saying this conversation is causing anxiety because I want to move ahead, but I don't have a plan. Yes, you do. Create one with Take Control. By the time you're done with this, you will have a personalized plan for change, and you will have already taken action. Rachel's like, I'm working on my training 1 homework, and I absolutely love it. I cannot believe this is free. This is a free because you deserve this. It's free because not everybody can afford to hire me as a coach or take one of my courses. This is free because this is my way to say thank you. This is free because I lived for too long, everybody, with the Sunday scaries. I see Soul of S has terrified Sundays. Well, let's do something about it. Instead of just like letting your life be the Sunday scaries and then surviving your week and then trying to do some self-care on Fridays and Saturdays, forget that. That's not the life that you deserve. Let's start saying bye-bye, Sunday scaries. Hello, my awesome life. Bye-bye, Sunday scaries. I can tolerate this kind of discomfort because I have a life that I'm creating, and I'm looking forward to that. And you've got something to look forward to. You want to know how to say bye-bye to the Sunday scaries? Hello, training number 2 drops on Monday, and training number 3 drops on Wednesday or Thursday of this week. You got 2 super cool things to look forward to, okay? So here's what I want to do. I want to walk you through so that those of you who have not done training 1 yet, if you've signed up for this but you haven't jumped into training 1, get in there, because we're going to start in a place that most of you don't want to start, which is, where are you? This is a fuel gauge. I've taught this in many of my other courses. You need to absolutely fill this out, period. You need to fill this out, because too many of you are trying to rush past the Sunday scaries. That's not how change works. We gotta start where you are so that you know what's working and what's not working. And there's a lot in your life that's actually working that you're not giving yourself credit for. So I want to make sure that you get that. And the other reason why you need to start where you are, this is really cute. I got to read this one to you, is because Tom took the training, Take Control. And he says, you sneaky bugger, Mel. I learned more about myself than I wanted to last night, forcing me to confront some realizations, making me think a little harder about questions and the reasons behind the answers. Maybe the Sunday scaries are here because you're not doing anything to change your life and your circumstances for the better. And so that makes your soul terrified. Consider that the Sunday scaries are a warning from the future you, that the Sunday scaries are a bigger part of you, your soul, your heart, all of it trying to signal to you that it's time to wake up. How do you get the free training? The information's right here, melrobbins.com/take control. And for those of you that keep saying, I haven't gotten the email, here's what I need you to do. Go back and re-sign up, melrobbins.com/take melrobbins.com/take control. 95% of people who have not gotten the email spelled their email wrong. If you still have not gotten your email link for Take Control with Mel Robbins, just send us an email to hello@melrobbins.com. But please, 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 because this is a free program, please go back and re-register and type slower this time, okay? Yes, here we go, everybody. People are so excited. They're like, this is very confronting. Okay, so one of the first questions I'm going to ask you, work, career, or school? Draw a line about how you feel about this area of your life. And you go from either feeling depleted to feeling energized. And you just tap in here. For me, work, I'm really energized right now. Why do I feel this way? I feel this way because I'm really proud of the course that we've put out. I'm really proud of some of the projects that are launching in the near future. I'm really proud of my team. Fun. Where are you, everybody, on the fuel gauge of fun? Are you depleted? Are you having any fun? Are you starting to have more fun? This was an area of my life that was a 0 last year. No fun. No wonder I had the Sunday scaries. I was having no fun in my life. I was waiting until everything was okay to start having fun. You need fun all the time, everybody. Finances. You feeling good, or are you feeling low and empty and depleted in finances? Are there behaviors or attitudes that you have that contribute to this way? Like, for example, ignoring your bills, not taking proactive steps. That'll create the Sunday scaries, everybody. If you're sick at home, yep, you can take this. Happiness. Are you depleted or energized in this area of your life? Why? Last year, when I did this, I was a 0, completely empty. Sunday scaries every weekend, no fun at all. State of your home. This is a big one. The environment that you live in. Are you feeling energized by where you are or depleted by the state of your home? Why? And what are you doing to contribute to this? Your morning routine. You feeling depleted or energized? You excited? Excited by it? See, people are already having breakthroughs. Oh my God, no wonder I have the Sunday scaries, Mel. I'm just learning that I'm procrastinating on addressing my financial situation. Of course I'm freaked out. Of course. Hobbies. I had no hobbies last year. Completely deleted. And this year I'm so energized because I'm building my first ever what is it called? It's like an elevated planting bed. You know, the risen planting beds, and I'm going to grow some cut flowers from seeds. I'm so excited by this silly little project. And there's research that explains why. Your physical health. Last year, I was feeling a lot of anxiety. I was feeling really lost. I was really depleted. This year, I am feeling good. I'm feeling really good about my physical exercise. Friendships. This was a 0 for me last year. Now I've done the work and taken control of this energy, or this side, it's like running over. Love. Now I've got a separate section for career and business here. For those of you that want to use this as a way to level up your business or your career or your team. Let's see. How satisfied and fulfilled are you in your career and with your business? How's selling and revenue goals coming? What about your team? I would say, woo! Top of the charts here with the team. Are you having fun? Are you enjoying your work? Yep. Influence. This is really important. You feel like you're getting passed over at work. I see so many of you crying. You're putting crying on the thing. That's how you're reacting to this video. Good. Good. Because that tells me that you're starting to go, wow, I've really put everything on autopilot. No wonder I have the Sunday scaries, this looming sense that things are going to stay the same unless I do something about it. I do something. Are you working to your full potential? You know what's awful about not working to your full potential? Oh, is that it stays trapped in here. You know, everybody talks a lot about like time management and, you know, all these things you need to do, but like if you're not, and you are not tapping into your potential, if you're not prioritizing your hobbies, if you're not making time for your friends, if you're not taking care of your health, all of that is locked in you. And if every one of those categories in your life is an area where you're not feeling alive, I have good news for you. This can change very quickly. It can change very quickly, but it's not going to change unless you take action. And so I am offering you a free 3-part science-backed training that you can take today to eliminate the Sunday scaries and start to create a personalized plan to get yourself moving in the right direction. That's what it's available for you, okay? And the information's just right here. 250,000 other students are already in it. Video 1 is live. Video 2 goes live in less than 24 hours. And if you're ready to play a bigger game, if you're ready to start waking up on Sundays and feeling excited that you have another day to enjoy yourself, and you have a week full of cool things that you're doing that are going to help you grow, problems to solve, things to do. Amazing, amazing, amazing.
Where do you find that shift of like, I need to get off of this because I'll be spending time with like my fiance or with my family. It pops into my head, oh my gosh, I need to text this person. I forgot I needed to call and get this order fixed. How do you find that shift to just say, you know what, I'm spending time with my family and I'll do it tomorrow, but not like in a procrastinating way?
It's an excellent question. I think if you're present to whether or not you're kind of in the zone of time where it's cool to be fluid, you're kind of with the family, you're also sort of present on your phone, that's cool. If you've decided that because my kids are starting to complain, or my fiance's starting to complain that I'm always like this, then you got to honor that if you're going to say, I'm putting down the phone between 7 and 9 o'clock tonight, and I'm actually just going to be present with you, you've got to honor it. So what I will do is I'll just jot a note to myself. So instead of picking up the phone, I'll just jot a note down. And it's only because I have the propensity to work 24/7 because I love what I do, and I love responding to people on social, and I love seeing all the stuff that's going on. Set a quitting time every single day. Now, I usually, I'd say about 65% of the time I honor it. It's not foolproof, but it works the majority of the time. And you've had the experience, right, where you gotta like be at a meeting at the school, or you have to catch a plane, or you've got a doctor's appointment. And have you ever noticed that when you've got an anchor like that, your whole day condenses and you're more productive because you've got this deadline? And that's called Parkinson's law. So Parkinson's law, it's a research-backed fact that when you have work to do, it will expand to the amount of time that you have to do it in. So if you have 20 minutes to make a call, how long will it take you? If you have 2 weeks to make it, how long will it take you? 2 weeks. Correct. So if you, every day, no phone in your room, you set that one priority that matters to you. If you got time to kind of inch it forward just a little bit, great. You've already made progress. You're done for the day. Then you look at your phone. You also set a quitting time right then and there. The majority of days you'll honor it. And that quitting time means, for me, it means I'm not on my phone. And everybody that works for me knows if there's an emergency or if we have to do something, they'll call me. So that helps a lot. Does that answer help you?
Yeah.
Excellent. There is like some pretty interesting research around how long you can focus. Do you guys remember when we took standardized tests, how you were done with the test, you had this massive headache, felt like your brain was pushing? It's because your prefrontal cortex was so gassed. It had to focus for so long that it was tired. The reason why we have habits that get automated is to give your prefrontal cortex a break. Because if your brain had to focus on everything intently 100% of the time, it would not be able to do it. It would blow up in your head. So the reason why it goes back and forth between behaviors that are patterns and behaviors that cause you to be intentional is because your brain needs to take these little breaks. What you're dealing with is you've developed a habit that gets triggered by that feeling. So when your brain starts to feel gassed, that's the trigger. This part of the brain takes over, and what your pattern you're repeating is social media. So the fastest way to stop that is when you catch yourself on social media in that instance, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, to override the pattern, and then get up and take a quick walk. A 3-minute walk, literally even into the kitchen or around the block, or go outside and take a phone call or something. It's remarkable how that will help a lot. We're covering a topic that I get a lot of questions about, and it is about toxic coworkers and how you should not let a toxic coworker ruin your job, ruin your day, ruin your meeting. And we're going to talk about the 3 research-backed things that you need to do if you're dealing with a toxic coworker that is making you not enjoy your job or not enjoy being around them, whatever it is. Toxic coworkers are a major problem. They're a major problem for team productivity. They destroy culture. They impact how much gets done. They certainly probably impact your enjoyment at work. And there are things that you can do based on the research in order to address and deal with a toxic coworker, and also to define the boundaries that you need to have so that you're not impacted by them. So we got this question, and so we're going to spin off this question, but the advice goes for any time you're dealing with somebody at work who's toxic, okay? Because one of the nice things about being at work is that if the person is toxic, oftentimes you've got more structure around the relationship because you have a boss, because you have HR, because you have team dynamics to help you coach, nudge, and I guess inspire in some ways, or inform this person that the behavior really isn't working for the team or for you. And I'm going to give you the 3 pieces of research and advice that come from Harvard Business School and some researchers there that will really work. So here's a question from Natasha. I absolutely love my job, but my company recently hired a new employee from my department who is awful. Awful. And Natasha even wrote in all caps that she's awful. She doesn't take responsibility for any of her mistakes. She takes her anger out on her coworkers and doesn't seem to have respect for anyone in the company. She is unbearable to work with. So, Natasha, if you've got somebody that's taking her anger out on coworkers and she has no respect for people, that would be unbearable, and I'm glad you're writing this. And so I want to draw a line in the sand. So first of all, there are certain behaviors that go way beyond being toxic. Sexual harassment, harassment of any kind, stealing, immoral behavior. Those are things that not only you shouldn't deal with, but HR needs to know about them. And so if that's what's going on with a coworker, you need to get your boss and you need to get HR involved, because that's a whole different level than just toxicity. Toxicity is referring to what Natasha's talking about, which is the behavior patterns in people that create a negative space for everybody else. And those can include gossiping. If you've got a coworker that's constantly fluttering by your office and wants to gossip about what's going on at work, that's a toxic person. If you got somebody that backstabs people, if you've got somebody that interrupts and dominates the corporate culture or meetings, that can become a toxic situation for culture. If you've got somebody that's constantly raising their hand or agreeing to do things, but guess what? They never follow through. Yours truly? I used to be that kind of person. I used to be the yes woman. And then I just wouldn't do anything. Like, honestly, I was literally the world's worst employee at a number of my jobs. I was the toxic person. I was also miserable, which is why I was doing that. And that's a very important point. A lot of people that act out at work are miserable. And so I think one of the things, before I tell you the 3 things, there we are. We just lost our signal. Oh no. Tracy, are we okay? I want to make sure that we still have our friends on Instagram or on Facebook and YouTube. Are we still okay?
Nothing from her yet. I'll let you know.
You might want to call her. So,
No, she's texting. Okay.
We're okay?
We're good.
Okay, it said lost signal. Okay, great. So I also want to put that in to the mix of the 3 things I'm about to share with you in terms of the advice, because I think it's really important for your personal boundaries to use what I always talk about, which is empathy. Understand that anybody that's acting out, it doesn't excuse the behavior, it explains it. And it also allows you to separate yourself emotionally. That person is likely miserable. That person has a bad life, which is why they treat people badly. And so if you can start to really use empathy to put it on them versus making it that they are doing something to you, that can help you from getting hooked emotionally. However, even when you distance yourself, you still have to do something about it. And so here's what you're going to do. According to Harvard Business Review, the single most important factor in the success of a team, the success of a culture, is the quality of the relationships between colleagues at work, between the people on a team. And Natasha, you know this because you're experiencing somebody who's toxic. She takes her anger out on you. She doesn't take responsibility for her mistakes. She's disrespectful to people. And of course, this is going to create a horrible environment to work in. So here are 3 things that you can do immediately in order to fix this situation. Number 1, and you're gonna hate this. Number 1, you have to talk to them. Hinting is not allowed, and here's why. Based on the research, the majority of people lack self-awareness at work. You get that? The person who's disrespecting you likely doesn't even know what they're doing. The person who's taking his or her anger out on you likely doesn't know how it's impacting you. You see, when people do this, when they have these kind of toxic patterns, they've been getting away with them for so long because nobody has had the courage to cross-check them verbally on it. And that's where you come in. Lucky you. You're in their life because your purpose in their life is to be the one person that has the courage to actually sit down and have a candid conversation about it. So what are you going to do? How do you have that candid conversation? First of all, try not to make them wrong. Try not to come in and shame them and tell them all the horrible things they're doing, because you'll immediately create a situation where they're defensive. And if the research bears out from Harvard Business School and they actually had no idea that they were doing it, they might get defensive. The better way to do it, the more effective way to do it, is to explain how their behavior impacts you. And when you do that, most people are mortified because most people are venting or are disrespectful and they're not even thinking about the impact it has because nobody's ever told them. And the other thing that's really important when you have this conversation is come up with specific examples. So if you've got this toxic coworker, Natasha, for the next couple days, write down very specific examples of exactly what happened, exactly what this toxic coworker did, and exactly how it made you feel. And the reason why you want to do specific actions is because most of us are so unaware that just generally saying you're very disrespectful and it makes me feel demoralized. It makes me not want to come into work. It makes me not want to be your colleague. It makes me not want to volunteer to help you. Most of us just feel like horrible when something like that is told to us, but we don't really know how to check the behavior. But if you say, oh, well, we were in a meeting and I shared an idea and you said, well, that's really not going to work. I think it's a waste of our time to do that. Kind of stupid. When you demean my ideas publicly, it makes me not want to speak. You're talking down to me. Whoa, if I hear it that way, wow. Now I know what we're talking about. And here's the other thing. You can actually give them some advice. So the next time we're in a meeting, if you disagree with something that I have to say, it's fine to disagree, but you don't have to make it personal. And that will give them the training that they need. And, that's the hardest thing to do. Have the conversation. The second thing. Oh, and here's one final thing when you ask the feedback. You might want to ask them if they have any feedback for you, because then it becomes more of a dialogue and they may have feedback for you. For all you know, you're behaving in a way that's triggering them to disrespect you. You don't know. And unless you have the candid conversation, which you're going to have to be brave and courageous to do, nothing's going to change. Okay, so candid conversation. Number 2, you got to raise your own game. Got to raise your own game. And so what is the game that you play at work? You got to get out of the head that it's all about you. The best team members are always thinking about how to make the team better. The best team members are loyal to the team. The best people to work with are the ones that are in it together. And so in order for you to get your toxic colleague to shift behavior, you got to model it. And here's the interesting thing about the research. When people are working with coworkers or on a team where people collaborate and where you have honest conversations, it creates what we call psychological safety, which basically just means I feel safe working with you. I know that if I come to you with feedback, you'll listen. I know that if I tell you how your behavior is impacting me, you'll actually care. I know that if you need help, you'll come to me, and I know if I need help, I can come to you. That's what psychological safety means. You're a safe person and hopefully a fun person to work with. So you've got to model that. That means you got to ask for support. That means you got to have direct conversations, and it means you got to support your team members too. And do you realize that when you work with other people that do this, team members are 35 times more likely to show visible commitment to your success. And they're 47% more likely when you model it to work hard to build and maintain your trust. So don't ever get resigned in thinking that the way that you behave won't impact how somebody else is behaving around you. Another thing that you absolutely have to do is you have to go and talk to your boss if the conversation continues. You have to. And the reason why is it takes just one person to ruin a culture. It takes just one person to ruin a team dynamic at work. If you allow toxic behavior to continue on, it will destroy the work for everybody that has to work with them. It literally is like a skunk. Toxic people at work are like a skunk. You don't have to see them to smell them. You don't have to be next to them to feel the impact of their stink. And so if you've had the conversation and you've also been modeling the behavior and nothing is changing, it's time to take it upstairs. It's time to go to your boss. And the reason why it's important to go to your boss, and what are you going to go to your boss with? You're going to have a candid conversation. In fact, you're going to have the exact same one with your boss that you had with your toxic, skunky coworker. And you're going to give the boss specific examples, and you're going to explain what you explained to your coworker, and then you're going to ask your boss to hold a team meeting. Not to indict anybody, but to basically draw very clear lines in the sand about what are the team norms that are acceptable and what is not acceptable. And here's what's interesting. When a manager or a boss defines norms, the team is 73 times more likely to work hard to keep them. And here's the kicker. They're 125 times more likely to address the situation if there's somebody on the team who is not operating within the norms. You know, it's so obvious. I mean, think about it. If somebody were to walk in to work and put their feet up on the desk and turn on porn and be sitting at their desk watching porn, would that be the norm for your workplace? I don't think so, unless you're working for Playboy or you're working in the porn industry. That would be so out of the norm that everybody would address it immediately, period, full stop. And what I want you to understand is that when you take responsibility for how you're acting on the team, and you're collaborative, and you're supportive, and you're putting the team first, and you're modeling that behavior, and when you also bring the courage, and you dare, as Brene Brown says, to be brave enough to have honest conversations with your colleagues about what's acceptable and what's not based on how things are impacting you, you personally shift the culture in a positive direction. So it comes back to the core message that I always have for you. No matter what's happening around or to you, you hold the power. Because you always have the power to have an honest conversation. You always have the power to discuss how things are impacting you. You always have the power to make requests. And you certainly have the power to draw boundaries. And you also have the power, by the way, if the culture gets worse and worse, or you just are tired of it because it's not changing, to go find a different job. The power is always in you. And I think that's something that's so important to constantly remind yourself. I get that I don't like where I am, but what could I do to change it? How can I change how I think about this? And I'm telling you right now, you know this. The second you start changing how you think about a situation, the situation changes. The second you start changing how you think about what your options are, you start to see them. The second you stop thinking that you're stuck or that you're a victim and you start thinking about how you solve something, you start to see solutions. And so the answer is always in you. And now you know the 3 easy steps, thanks to the research at the great folks at Harvard Business School, to address effectively a toxic coworker. And you also know, I think, 2 very important things. Number 1, based on the research, the majority of us have no clue how we're showing up at work. We're not self-aware, which is why it's so important for you to have conversations. And the second thing is, the second norms get defined and people start acting within them in your team, the team shifts and the productivity and the enjoyment and the collaboration will shift too. And you personally could be the change agent that makes it happen.
Hi, Mel. It's Kay. I want to become empowered to improve my work situation. So I want to ask you about unhealthy work environments and the side effects they manifest. Where should I start making changes?
Well, one thing I want to acknowledge really quickly is that you do have the power to change this, because positive energy is also very contagious. And if you protect your energy, you can take proactive steps to call people out on their behavior. And so that's what we're going to talk about now. And I want to bring a study into this because there was a new study by the Workforce Institute at UKG that found that 69% of people say that their managers have the greatest impact on their mental health, that their managers had the same level of impact on their mental health as their partner or spouse at home. Now, this was more than the impact that their doctor or therapist had on their mental health. And this was a huge study. They looked at 3,400 people across 10 countries. And so you are right. Negative people at work, particularly a manager, really bad for your mental health because you can't fix them. And for me, there are 2 types of jerks out there. And we've already started to kind of unpack this, but I really want to highlight this for you. There are the jerks that are just entitled, like I believe the woman at the hotel front desk was, that she just thinks she's better than everybody else. And they treat people like crap because they've always treated people like crap. You know people like this. They're rude to waiters. They're short with other people. They're full of themselves. They have a tone to their voice. They're super pompous. We hate these kind of people. The kind of people that are rude for no reason other than because this is how they are and this is how they treat people. And I hate people like this. And you know what else I can't stand? I can't stand the fact that they tend to bully us, right? And we just give in. And it just perpetuates this. People get a better room because they're mean to the person at the front desk. The world should not work like this, but it drains our energy. That's why we give in. And so there's that type of jerk. And then there's the second type, which is more like the person in that coffee shop that I was explaining, where they're just under pressure and they can't tolerate the discomfort that they feel. I call these kind of people emotionally immature. And I use the word immature because they throw tantrums. They're like a child who is so frustrated, so they throw themselves on the floor. And they're immature because they do not have a mature or responsible way of tolerating emotional stress. And so in these situations at work, you have a couple choices. Number 1, we've already talked about the snow globe. This one works like a charm because it gives you objectivity, allows you to visualize the tantrum, and it makes you feel a little bit better than the person, honestly. And so that's one thing. A second thing that you can do is you are allowed to call people out on this behavior. In the first question that we got, you heard the example of somebody getting a really rude email. There's nothing wrong with picking up the phone or walking down the hall and saying, hey, is something going on with you? Because I don't know if you know how the tone of this email comes across, but it doesn't feel good. And most people, when you call them out on that and you kind of start off with, hey, is something going on with you? Because this isn't like you and the tone is really demeaning. And is there something you want to tell me? Or are you unaware that this is like how you're speaking to people? That is the way that you can call somebody out. And obviously, if you have somebody that is engaging in this consistently, document it, go to HR, because you shouldn't be under a barrage of that kind of abusive language or demeaning language or that sort of like really unnecessary pressure. That's not why you're in your job. And so you can go to HR, but you can walk down the hall, you can pick up the phone, and you can say, I'm more than happy to help you with these things, but only if you speak to me in a respectful manner. And this is not respectful. And I'm sorry you're having a bad day, but don't take it out on me. My son actually used to say that to me, and so did my kids. They would literally go, I don't know what's going on at work, but don't take it out on me. I don't work with you. And so call the person out. And if you're not comfortable, start documenting it and then go to HR and try to get some help with it. Final thing I want you to know. If you've just got somebody who's like grumpy or kind of standoffish, or you work in a place like an investment bank or a law firm or someplace that's like crazy competitive, you want to know how you flip this? I love this strategy. I'm going to tell you a story. You shower curmudgeons with compliments. That's what you do. And I have firsthand experience with this, and boy, does it work like a charm. It is just awesome. And the reason why this works is there's something in the world that is called the law of reciprocity. The law of reciprocity is very simple. If you do something nice for me, I feel like I should do something nice for you. And this works with curmudgeons. I swear to goodness it does. Have you ever walked into a mall and somebody opens that first set of doors for you? What do you do with the second set? You don't even think about it. You basically trip over your own feet to try to get to that door so you can hold it open for them. You do nice for me, I'll do nice for you. And this works with curmudgeons at work. And I'm going to tell you a story. So a number of years ago, I had the honor of being recruited by CNN to become an on-air legal analyst. What does that mean? That means that when Anderson Cooper is hosting his show and he goes, all right, well, let's go to some commentary. And then there's a person sitting basically in a closet in the box on the screen. That was me. I was not a reporter. I was a paid legal commentator that was giving analysis on all the big cases. And it was a fascinating job, but I noticed something. I noticed that people were not that friendly. So you would be down at CNN in New York City in the Time Warner Center, which is where they were when I worked for them. And you're standing off the side of the set, and you're going to go on to one of the shows, and you're standing there with other legal commentators. These are your colleagues. And everybody's on their phones, and nobody's talking to each other. And if they're talking to each other, it's sort of like, oh, so, are you on, you're on New Day this morning? Okay, and then are you going to be on Ashley's show? You're going to be, well, I'm on Don. Oh, well, I'm on, and sort of like this, like, one-upping thing as you're talking about how busy you're going to be today and what shows have called you. And it's this weird thing. And so I didn't like that. And so this is what I decided to do. I decided that I was just going to proactively reach out and compliment my fellow legal analysts. So Paul Callan is one of them. I call him the professor. He's one of my favorite human beings in the world. So here's how I would do it. We'd be walking off set and I'd be like, Paul, that was genius what you just said. And Paul's not a curmudgeon, but even he likes, oh, thank you. And when I would research a particular case that was breaking, you know what I did? I would forward the cases and the interesting articles I was finding to the other 4 paid commenters, because there were only 5 of us on all of CNN that were on the payroll to do this. And we all had other jobs. This is like something we were all doing on the side. And so I started emailing them. And then when I would see them on television, I'd be sitting home with my kids and one of them would be on because I wasn't called in to do it. I would tweet at them and tag them. There's my friend Paul, killing it. Great analysis. Can I tell you, it took less than 5 days to melt the ice. And the 5 of us became such incredible friends Joey Jackson, I miss you so much. Danny, I miss you. Paul Callan, I miss you. We had a blast. We always had each other's backs. We became great friends, so much so that 2 years later, a woman reached out to me from CNN, and she was responsible for building out the program for analysts. And she wanted to meet with me because she said everybody inside of CNN talked about the camaraderie and the vibe between the 5 of us who didn't even live in the same city. And she wanted to know how we did it. And I said, we just started cheering for one another. And so if you can stomach complimenting somebody on their work or on their nails, or don't be creepy about it, but if you can find something, hey, you did a really good job with that client, even a curmudgeon takes notice. And over time, you know what they do? The law of reciprocity kicks back in and they start complimenting you back. You see, at the end of the day, whether people grew up with parents who were jerks, and so they model behavior of being jerks and being, pompous and better than other people, or they're just emotionally immature and they can't tolerate their own emotions, and that's why they throw tantrums. At the end of the day, everybody wants the same thing. We just want to know that we matter. We want to know that we're doing a good job. We want to know that somebody appreciates that we're there. We want somebody to understand that we're doing our best and we're stressed out and we're trying to get the coffee out as fast as we can. We want somebody to have a little bit of compassion for the fact that I'm 24 and I'm wearing a big blazer and I, am not responsible, but I'm going to do my best to try to help you. And I'd want to help you even more if you weren't such an asshole to me right now. That's what we want. We want a little bit of respect, a little bit of kindness. And when you start to dial that up and you give it out with radical generosity, it comes back to you in incredible ways. And so, that's what you can do. You can certainly call it out. And when you call it out, not in an antagonizing way, but hey, what's going on with you? Because you're not normally like this. And, I'm happy to help you, but not when you're rude to me. Or go to HR. When you visualize somebody throwing a tantrum in a snow globe, it doesn't get on you. And then when you start dialing up your own positivity, which you're going to be better equipped to do if you're using these tools, you can use the law of reciprocity to slowly melt that curmudgeon into a real softie. I swear to God, I've done it my whole life, and you can do it too. So many people do not like what they do for a living. Yeah. And in the book, you write about having a job that was very toxic. Mm-hmm. Can you describe what it felt like to walk into work and how you practice a homecoming when you're in a toxic environment?
Yes. It is so stressful in your body, in your mind. And that's even before you can do your work, right? Just the
Sunday scaries, the driving in,
dreading it. It's terrible. And so then, of course, you can't flow in a spirit of excellence because you're, battling all of these other dynamics. And so I like to encourage people to create a morning ritual so that you show up with your cup already full.
So can you give us an example?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yes. So first of all, wake up before you have to get up.
Okay, what does that mean?
That means don't set your alarm for the time you have to jump out of bed and jump in the shower, because now you've already started your day frantic.
Yes.
So now I'm going into a toxic place already feeling anxious.
Okay.
So you want to wake up a little bit earlier and then figure out what are the practices that would nourish me. For some people, that will be listening to music. I like to say, in every season of your life, come up with your theme song.
Yep.
So your theme song will get you in the right mindset. Doing some stretching next to the bed, body movement, exercise. Some people go for an early morning walk, so then they already feel settled and slowed down. Meditation and or prayer, reading something inspirational that can kind of create the mantra for your day.
Why does this matter? Because when somebody's like, you have no idea. I have this abusive boss and these jerks that I work with, and I can't quit, and I've got bills to pay. Don't sit here, Dr. Tama, and tell me that I should freaking stretch.
Yes.
Go for a walk. Are you crazy, woman?
Yeah.
Like, why does this matter?
I want to introduce you to the part of you that is not an employee. You are more than your labor.
Oh.
Yeah. So if we center our full session every week on your boss, then all you are is your boss's worker. And there is a you beyond your boss.
Wow. Is that true about being in a bad relationship too?
Yeah. That they consume a lot of your energy and time, but you were a person before you met them. And whether this continues or not, you're going to be a person. And we want to meet that person. We want to nourish that person because there is more to you than what they see. And a part of what they're responding to is they see the vastness of you and don't like it.
Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you. So make sure you subscribe. Mwah.